What's poppin'? Welcome back after a very long break. Hello, I'm Casey Kelsey, and in this episode, we are going to review the Amazon Prime original series, The Wilds. I am joined here with my co-host, Star Lee.
Hey, y'all.
And LaRasha Simon.
Hello.
Yeah. All right, so let's get right into it. The Wilds is about a group of teenage girls who are traveling to this like female empowerment retreat to Hawaii. And they're on this plane and their plane crashes. When their plane crashes, everything kind of has like this big turning point. They wake up to this unknown island and they are forced to work together to survive despite their differences, their backgrounds, and personalities. So that is the summary of the show. Did I? Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. I'm just going to say it right off the bat. I hated this show. And I don't feel like I hate a lot of shows, but this show in particular, one, it was just really slow for me to start, and I could do a slow start, right? You know, build the story. But like, you couldn't pay me to go on an island to just be out here in the wilderness unless I'm being put in a cabana. So that's strike number one. You know, I feel like, sorry, you were like, oh, this is such a good show.
It is.
Okay, give me a point of how this is a good show.
Well, okay, I understand what you were saying. It does go kind of slow, trying to like get into it. But that is what I love about it. It's like the mystery and it's kind of like intense and it really pulled me in. And it's just interesting because I don't think Casey likes shows and movies and such that goes really slow. Am I correct?
That is like total facts. If you all have been listening to any of my podcasts, I am the first one to be like, this was slow. Slow. But I agree with Star. I think this was a good slow because of the build up and the mystery. A lot of it is like, what the heck is going on? And I think that's what made me want to continue to watch it because even when I was like binge watching it, I would be texting Star like, just tell me. I just want. She's like, no, keep watching. And then like the middle of the season, that's when you get that big twist. And for me personally, I love a story that has these constant plot twists in them. It's like how to get away with murder or Scandal or something like that. When you after each episode there is something that makes me want to go, what just happened? What's gonna happen next? And then have me keep watching it. I think the buildup of this structure was perfect. I don't think it could have went any other way. And this review probably would have been the opposite had it been just a little bit faster. I just love the buildup of this show, man. I think it was executed really well.
Yeah.
Really, really, in my opinion. I know you got yours, LaRasha, but
I have to agree with Casey on that. I love the build and I loved each and every character. And I love that they really illustrated their stories to the fullest.
Mhm.
And for me, it was like none of their stories were dull. And they all meshed well together. I thought it was very, very unique. And I loved how diverse the cast was.
And story structure, I would just to add on to sorry to cut you out, but just to add on to like what Star was saying is like I love how each episode showed us everyone's backstory. Because in the beginning, just like how they didn't know each other, I love it when a writer can include their audience in it. We don't know them either. And the fact that we're getting to know these girls the same way that they're getting to know them is perfect writing to me. When you're able to include your audience and make them feel like they are there with the characters. And I thought they did that very, very, I thought that was executed really, really well as well. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think in regards to storytelling, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be able to tell stories and it not be problematic, because truthfully, life is problematic within itself. I think the parts that really got me is the girl from the South, how she was like, oh, Miss Perfect from the pageant. And then she low key was trying to figure out her sexuality. And her parents not only forced their opinions on her, which happens quite a bit in family dynamics, but she wasn't even able to express, so much so that her and her friends shared a moment. And y'all got to watch for details. They shared a moment, and then she then found out, I believe, at the pageant what happened to her friend, which was tragic. And like that stuff happens. Once she lied about it and to cover it up to make sure that she could be the best Christian daughter of the pastor, this picture perfect family, when she was cracking on the inside. So that was one issue I had, because then she was
So you just
portrayed to
didn't
be.
like the character at all?
I will get there. So I think when she gets portrayed on the island, there was a lot of pushback from the girls because she's all Miss Perfect, whatever, this, that, and the third. But then you get to the main, well, I would consider a little bit of the main character, Leah. She's in love with this writer, and she's underage. Like that, she could go to jail. The guy that she was with for a short time could go to jail. And I think while they're teenagers, they're exploiting the fact that she just processed love and obviously can't have the one thing that she wants. And so that was frustrating to me, because in a different world, that's not technically how society works. There are people that will date someone who's underage. I'm not saying this happens all the time. But it was just really interesting. Like in this show, this is the one girl that didn't get what she wanted, right? At least not
And
for
you
a
didn't
long
like that
duration.
she didn't get what she wanted?
I think it was interesting. And then you get to the girl who is, you think that she's surface level, very, very materialistic. And then I think a
Fatima?
couple Fatten,
Fatima?
Fatima.
Yeah, I think it's Fatima.
you get in a couple episodes and you start realizing like she's a fantastic cellist player. She is trying to live her life to the fullest. She seems to be having a better relationship with her dad. Her mom doesn't really care for her, only wants her to do best in playing her instrument, and then you find out her dad is cheated, and like she's not really phased by it. So
But I think she is.
Yeah.
the
And that's why
mom
she's acting out. Or are you talking about the mom? You're
The
talking about the
mom, I don't think was like
mom.
really phased by it. Like she didn't want to acknowledge it, so that's
I
why I think
know.
that.
Yeah.
Her mother was in denial.
Yes.
And that is what was causing
Yeah.
Fatima to act out the way that she was. Not only was they were as parents, they were pressuring her to be this great performer. On top of that, her dad is out here doing whatever he's doing. So just picturing that, I feel like from a writing standpoint, if you have this teenager going through this, how would they react? Is she going to go and act out like her father?
Yeah.
I think so. Because they show that she just became like this big hoe, like her father.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was really interesting how each character, there was a power struggle somewhere, whether they had to support XYZ family member, or they were made to feel by XYZ family member because they weren't the typical teenager, or um the twins, they were, one was struggling with an eating disorder but wanted to be this perfect athlete, but then her coach basically told her she was too fat. Then you have a supportive sister that her twin wants to support her, but she sees she's struggling. But then the parents, well, it appears to be from one twin's angle that the parents like treat the other sister better because she's smarter. So the only thing she does have is swimming, right? So
She's
there's like a lot
referring
of,
to Rachel and Nora are their names.
yes. So there's a lot of nuances. I also just can't relate to the sibling, um, the fighting, particularly with Nora.
Nora
I'm
and
an only
Rachel, between
child.
Nora and Rachel?
Nora and Rachel, like
You said you
it's,
can't.
I cannot, because not only, I mean, I was raised as an only child, but I also think
But you don't think that's realistic?
I 110,000% think that's realistic in some dynamics of having a sibling. My point is like sometimes I wish there was better structures to have conversations, or like, um, hey, I see that you're struggling. I may not have the right words, but like,
But that wasn't Nora's character.
Yeah.
no, it's not. But my point is that was one of the bigger issues that I think was a trifecta to the reason why half the girls, I mean, over half of them, I don't want to like spoil the end, were on the island.
They were on the island because they all had something. Okay, so just for our listeners, just real quick, there's a character named Gretchen.
Yes.
And she is the scientist that got all of these ladies on this island.
She's
She
a
handpicked them. Yes, she handpicked them to be on this island. So it's a social experiment about basically who is going to survive, who's going to make it out, and how she's basically seeing the differences in their survival skills, right? She's watching them from above, and just a big spoiler alert coming up. So if you don't want to hear this, please just go ahead and fast forward or wait after. But everything is made up. Okay, the plane crash was fake. The island that they're on is fake. The stuff that they get is put there for them because she doesn't want them to die. She is just doing this big social experiment. It's like a Mean Girls a Mean Girls collab with Lost, I guess.
Yeah,
Is that the
pretty
perfect
much.
I guess
movie?
that's a unique combination to think of it as.
Yeah, I think that was I don't know if that was like but that was like the first thing that came to my mind.
That. Yeah.
No, that was good. I think the biggest tipping point for me was when I realized that Nora was really into this guy and then stopped seeing him because Rachel was like, yeah, I don't really like him, which I think is bogus. But that happens again. I think the part that I had the
I didn't
biggest
like him
disdain of,
either.
I mean, but she liked him. Nora liked him, and that's
No, I
like
was
that's
asking
not for her.
Casey. You didn't like Quinn?
The little white boyfriend she had,
Yeah.
wasn't he just weird? He wasn't like
Yeah.
pressuring her to do stuff, right?
No, they
No.
were taking classes together in the summer.
No.
Oh, I could have sworn he was like pressuring her to do stuff. Never
He got
mind.
frustrated when she wanted to break up with him. And she broke. What did he say? He called her sister Rachel an uncultured fitness freak.
Yeah,
And that's
okay.
what was the like turning point for Quinn and Nora, because it's like, don't come for my sister.
Yeah. So the part that really threw me off is the fact that Nora single-handedly, which was watching these girls, which was the whole point, honestly, of the show and them on the island, tear themselves apart sometimes or blame each other and get into these fights when she was the mastermind.
What did they call them? Eyes? What did they call those
Trying
girls?
to think of the right term.
There were two, okay? And they said that both of you would never know who's the other one.
Gosh, I can't think of the name.
I think by having Nora being the second one is me going back to the beginning of a very great plot twist, because I would have never thought that. And there's not many shows that I can think of where I cannot predict what's going to happen. The only
Yeah.
thing that I could predict what was going to happen was the story between old girl and the southern girl, because I thought that storyline was very
Shelby
typical.
and Tony.
Shelby and what's the other
Tony.
one? Tony. That was very typical. Okay, you have the church girl. She's hiding her sexuality. Whoop de whoop. We've heard
But I
that
like
before.
that they didn't get to it right away.
But we saw it coming.
Kind of, yeah.
True. Come on, you saw that coming. I saw it coming from the get. You remember texting me like, she's gay, isn't she? Like,
anyway, so my other pet peeve was the fact that the intern looked, I mean, it was fine that she like looked like she was like a teenager, but my issue was that they let that girl die on the island. Well, she had an issue before because she like tumbled over the side of the pier or something, or it landed on the boat.
Water.
So she was internally bleeding, and I was like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." And I'm like, "Sis, come on now. You know you're not well So that's why she died so quickly. But then they were like, well, hopefully it's worth it. Like, they're not even going to acknowledge that girl's death.
I think she did acknowledge it, though. What was her name? Gretchen, the leading master manipulator, I like to call her. She did acknowledge it, and then I think you did see like a level of hurt from her when Jeanette died. I think that was probably one of her biggest regrets. And while it wasn't right that she continued on with the experiment, I felt like, well, then it was all for nothing. Like, Jeanette invested in this. You pulled her into this. She wanted to keep going, even knowing that she was hurt. So I felt like they had to keep going with the experiment, basically, in a sense, in Jeanette's name.
And I think that was the perfect setup to show us just the type of character that Gretchen is, that she is still going to be like, okay, no one was supposed to die, by the way. This is the thing. No one was supposed to die. This is a big, complete social experiment. And the fact that someone did and she decided to keep going tells us, the audience, okay, she's evil. Like, this girl is going to go to the extreme just for this social experiment. Now, I want to know when she's going to tell the parents that this girl died.
They were
what I want.
operatives. Jeanette.
Yes.
She did. Okay.
Oh.
And then also you bring up to your point, Larasha, of like, she technically hasn't even told. This is all, if in my, this is illegal. This is kidnap.
Absolutely.
Right?
100%.
This is absolute kidnap, because she told the parents that they're going to be going to this retreat, this empowerment retreat, with they get to meet girls. It's so feminine, whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And these girls are stranded on this island for a social experiment. You got one girl whose arm gets cut off. You have another girl who's towards the end is completely losing her mind. Like, she is not the same at all. Shelby is gone. Trauma. It's there, right? And then you got, what's the main character?
Leah.
I'm
Leah.
sure she's the protagonist in this situation. Leah.
Oh, 100%. Everyone was like, oh, no, you're lying. You're lying. Like, Leah was peeping it all. No one, I would think one person out of that group, Fatima was almost with her, but then she was like, Leah, you're doing too much. I don't really know what you're saying. Like, Leah had it. I guess my question was, maybe y'all saw this and I didn't. When, what was this other girl's name again?
Shelby.
Mm-hmm. When did Shelby figure it out enough to slide Leah that note?
Was it Oh, that note was done when they were in the rooms, right? So they weren't on the island. They were in the
I don't even think we know what was really in that.
I don't think what inspired her to give her that note, because she asked to see Leah and then gave her that note. Leah and Shelby's relationship on the island, they were against each other because Shelby thought it was Leah thought it was Shelby the whole time.
That's true.
But I thought at some point Leah thought it was Nora.
Leah thought it was Shelby in the beginning because she kept sneaking off to wash her mouth guard.
Oh yeah.
Not her mouth guard, her dentures. She had, yeah. So that was why their relationship was a little rocky. And I think that is also very interesting how they come together towards the end.
Absolutely.
And team up, because she was like, you were right, it's Nora. She found out it was Nora because Nora had put her in that thingy.
The tunnel.
Yeah. She dragged her ass there.
And she kept writing in that notebook.
Yep. That too.
Wait, so Larasha, you didn't like Shelby at all?
I didn't care for how her parents were treating her and the fact that she had to cover up her exploring sexuality. But then that's just trauma within a lot of relationships and folks who practice religion. That's the part I didn't like.
I think that is very relatable, because a lot of people go through that, especially when their parents are very religious. And so I think, yes, her storyline is typical. Yes, it was typical for her to get with Tony. However, I think it's still very relatable.
I have to agree with that. It had some typical elements, but I thought it was still a strong storyline. especially seeing where she ended up in the end.
And speaking of Tony, I think that was a very good offset for her because of her backstory, which is that she has a very, very bad temper. And to get with Shelby and kind of to, I don't know, I feel like Shelby was kind of like changing her a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she needed that, and she needed to be on that island for that.
They
And
gave
again,
each other, I think, something.
yeah, and that's going to the social experiment with Gretchen. It's like these girls come from different backgrounds. Can they work together to survive? And technically, eventually they did at some point.
Yeah. Tony's sister, I think her story was very
You mean her best friend?
Her best friend.
is
Martha?
that her best friend? I thought that was her sister.
Martha is her best friend, and I actually love the dynamic between those two. And I love that their relationship was challenged because
Yep.
I think Martha getting frustrated with Tony is very realistic. Like, we can love our
Yeah.
friends to death, but sometimes they just cross the boundaries, and you can only save them from their selves so many times. And I just love that because I think they both got the opportunity to grow on the island.
The fake detectives, or no, the doctors or psychologists or whatever at the end when they're like interviewing all these girls, didn't he say like she perjured herself? So like, does the court know that Martha lied?
No.
So how do they know that?
I think that's the point, and that's the thing that they're probably going to use against the family because we don't know what happened to Martha.
Yeah, I was like, where the hell is Martha? I want to know where Martha is, and I hope Martha's okay.
So for those that are listening, if you haven't seen the show, again, spoiler alert, but the way that we dive into the girls' backstories, they're being interviewed. So it's like a debriefing about, just I think they're just trying to make sure that the girl. I don't know why they're getting interviewed. To be honest,
They're
was
getting
this set?
interviewed to see what happened. They're trying to give an overview of exactly what happened and how they ended up there. But some of the girls can't even recall certain elements
How is that possible when they are working with Gretchen?
because they're posing as like these investigators or something.
So they're not real detectives.
But the only one,
Correct.
his name was Dean. He was the black guy and quote unquote, investigator. I thought he was the only person within the experiment who empathized with the girls to some level, and even letting Leah like outside or like letting Shelby see her and stuff like that. So you can see he has a heart there.
He has, yeah. So back to my point, Martha is the only one that's not getting interviewed.
Yeah.
So far.
No, not even.
What happened with Nora.
No, I mean
Nora. We don't know what happened to Nora.
We don't know what happened to Nora. We don't know what happened to Martha. So that's why I said so far, because season 2, I mean, it sets it up to have a season 2. I'd imagine they wouldn't just end it like that. And what I saw is they got greenlit for another season.
Yeah, they are getting another season. And then towards the end, which again, LaRasha, I know you don't like this show, but I thought that was such a wonderful cliffhanger. You see the boys on the island.
Yeah.
Right. Leah's looking at all these trees.
Escape.
Yes. And I was like, and she ends with, she either says what the or what the, and it ends. I thought that was like.
How did you guys feel, sorry to cut you off, about Leah's character? I had such like a tug of war with like how I felt about her, but overall I liked her as a character. And I know, LaRasha, you were saying earlier how you thought that the relationship dynamic between her and the author guy, what was his name, Jeffrey or something, that she fell in love with was interesting. And I found it to be interesting too. I think the typical thing, kind of story that could have happened is if he would have stayed with her. But I love the fact that he kind of walked away from the situation because she was underage.
I did not. Here's why.
Oh wow.
He shouldn't have done it in the first place.
He didn't know. She lied.
It doesn't. You met her at her high school.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Even if she was posted,
Oh, because
even
she
if
said it
she
was
was,
her 18. She was 18 already.
she said she was 18 already, but even if that was the case, sir, you met her in high school and you're this grown man. I think for me, I'm kind of in the same boat with Star. I like Leah's character, but then also I don't. And I will admit, at first, I wasn't understanding why she was the protagonist because I felt like the other girls had such a stronger backstory. Like, okay, girl, you're so freaking depressed over this guy. Literally, okay, let's be real. She was stressing over this since the moment she got on the island and all through probably like I don't even know when it stopped. I don't even think it did
She was
because she had
about to
that.
go down
She was in
reading the book.
Yeah, she
she
had
was in
that.
love with him.
But
That was
still,
her first love.
Her first,
that's what I'm saying of like why I don't know if I 100% like Leah. Like you are on an island and you're still thinking about some dude. Stop it.
she died.
You
She was about to die thinking about him too, which is
Here's the thing, that was the last thing she had to hold on to because she had one friend, right? And the one friend liked her, and eventually was the one friend that probably sent Leah's birth certificate to the author to let him know that Leah wasn't of age. Now, I will say this and recant my statement a bit. I didn't like that storyline, but I would have 100% been Leah peeping like, that looks different. What are you doing? This seems odd. Isn't this kind of weird how these backpacks are just popping up out of nowhere? That's a little weird. Um,
I mean, but also that's Gretchen's fault because Nora kept telling her Leah knows.
but I would have been Leah. That's my point. Because I'm just like, this doesn't seem right.
I think I would have been a Leah of like, where's this stuff coming? Like a random of food and aid just randomly came
But
to
I think it
shore.
was also
Yeah.
easy not to think about it because obviously things were washing up on shore.
Yeah, but who had a backpack full of food and aid?
Shoot, if I'm hungry, I don't care.
Well, here's the thing. Also, statistically, wouldn't that stuff wash up sooner rather than later and not so periodic? They literally were dropping that stuff so would rush in.
Well, we got to think that so we have to remember that when the quote unquote plane crashed, they all blacked out. So they don't know how far out were they in the ocean when when the plane crashed. Like if you remember, they were all scattered. They put them in different areas of this island and they came to shore. So I think just for them from their standpoint of like I don't think I would really be thinking like, okay, realistically, wouldn't this show up a
That's
little
what I'm
sooner?
saying.
I would have.
I know one character we haven't talked about yet, though, who is one of my favorite characters, is Dot. I love Dot.
Yeah, her story was sad.
Oh
Like
my
that is
gosh, when
just
her dad died, oh my, it crushed my heart.
Who?
Dot.
Dot.
Did you think she was an operative star? Because that's what I
I'm
thought.
not positive. That's what I found kind of tricky because her and Gretchen obviously had a conversation, so she didn't have to go into like the system and she could afford to like live on her
Oh,
own or whatever. I think, but I don't know if Dot really became a quote unquote operative. I feel like there's still so much to learn about her.
what if she is though? Because remember, they wouldn't know.
But there's only supposed to be two,
But how
right?
do you know that?
Isn't
Because
what they
didn't
said?
no, but didn't Dot like meet Gretchen in person one day?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They were
No.
sitting at the table in the conference room. She got in contact with her. When her dad died, he left a card or something behind, I think, for them to like get in contact with each other.
I think she's a third one. I think she lied to the two and kept the extra one. It's like having a financial advisor over your financial advisor.
Basically, yeah.
It
But I loved her.
wouldn't surprise me if in season 2 it reveals that she was a third one. I'm
Also,
like,
love when
okay.
she was being interviewed and she got all that food. I was like, yes, order that food, sis.
Yes. Dot said, I want all of this stuff.
I loved it. I think Rachel's character was the one like I really struggled because it's like my heart kind of went out to her. Like sometimes you would get frustrated. I felt like with her because she was so intense, But then seeing the dynamics between Rachel, Nora, and their parents, and how their parents essentially treated Rachel like the outcast until she became this huge athlete. Because from my perspective, I don't think the sport was about like, I really die hard, want to be in Olympics, want to be this swimmer. I think it was more so, I want to keep my parents' love as much as I can, because Nora was always the golden child.
Mm.
And I respect Nora trying to help her sister, but I got frustrated because it was like she was trying too hard to fix her without understanding what parts of her was broken, and even more importantly, why did she feel broken.
I really enjoyed the cinematography of this show as well. I thought everything was very, very beautiful. The island, just the sound design. I don't know if you guys paid attention to that as well, but like I think everything was executed well done. I'll definitely be watching season 2. I'm curious to see what happened to Nora and Martha. I'm curious to see what happens to Leah because she found that footage of the boys on the island, and are they going to be put on the island together?
I want to learn more about the girls though before we
Yeah,
dive too deep.
yeah.
Like, I really want to know more about Leah, because I feel like a lot of people make her just seem like she's so crazy, but I feel like there's so much more behind the reason, like, why she is the way she is, beyond the whole situation with the author and stuff like that. I think there's so
Yeah.
much more to it.
Yeah, I agree, and I like I said, I want to know why she's the protagonist because I feel like that answer has not. I feel like my question has not been answered through this season.
And I want to know more about Shelby and what drove her
To go crazy,
Yeah,
absolutely, me too, because that was random as well. That
yeah,
was very, very
It
random.
was her hair.
yeah.
She started cracking then because
She looked worn, absolutely worn out. Like,
But okay, so just looking at that Larasha when she cracked about her hair, that should have also been the time Gretchen should have pulled those girls out. This girl had the biggest mental break. And I thought that was a very nice touch to the show as well. Because I actually was waiting on that. I'm not even capping. I was waiting on that. Because I remember telling myself I would lose my mind on this island.
yeah,
yep.
Gretchen didn't care about the limits at all.
No, she didn't. I also think Gretchen was like selfish. I understand her development for research, but I also think she at many points was very selfish and focused on like her mission and like the way she wanted to do research and not really for the well-being of these girls. Like the Tony almost died. Martha and was it Martha and Tony because they ate those
It was, yeah.
clams?
I also question Nora's genuineness when it comes to her sister. Does
Yes.
she genuinely care about her sister?
No, she doesn't.
I don't know. That's a big question mark for me.
I think that was one of her reasons to getting her on that island, to be honest. Because she's a nerd, she's a geek, she's into these type of social.
But here's my theory. Okay, because if you remember, Nora really liked that guy Quinn. And she broke up with him basically
Oh boy.
because of Rachel. And if you remember, Quinn died because of the hazing incident. So, did she take her there because she's genuinely concerned about her sister? Or is part of her still like blaming Rachel for Quinn's death?
I agree. I agree.
I think she cares about her sister to a point, but did Nora get too caught up in it?
Yes.
I don't believe it.
Yes, she did.
We gonna find out. Casey, we gonna find out.
I don't know. I think Nora really just wanted to do this social experiment. She's a nerd. Obviously.
I think she's a nerd, but I don't know if she's as innocent as she portrays.
Maybe I'm in denial and I just don't want to wrap my head into
I don't think you're in denial, because any other time I would be like probably Team Nora, and I'm just so attracted to those type of characters because of her awkwardness and her nerdiness and stuff like that. But there's just something there that I'm just like, ugh.
I don't know, but also like even if that was the case, let's be real, Rachel was being a bitch towards Nora the entire time,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's been like that since even with their backstory. But I get that that's jealousy because the parents kind of
Yeah, I think that
treated
was
her,
just built up frustration.
but still, it's like from Nora's case, I didn't do anything, and I feel like Nora has always been there for her, regardless.
I agree with that, but also I feel like at times Nora was not willing to put herself in her sister's shoes.
How can she? She's awkward. She's weird. She like I just feel like you're expecting too much from someone that does not literally have that in her. She is doing the best that she can to be there
I
for.
think that in her own crazy, intense way, Rachel is too.
I don't think Rachel is. I
Mm.
don't. I don't. I think Rachel is just so mean to her sister.
Oh, she's definitely mean.
Is it binge worthy?
Absolutely 100% yes. If you're into a show that has lots of plot twists, lots of cliffhangers, lots of backstory, great backstories that matter to that matters to the main plot, okay? Not just some random backstory and then it has nothing to do with the plot cuz I hate seeing that. Like why did we watch this flashback? Anyways, if you like I'm looking at your face, Star. Anyways, back to my point. If you're into that, yes, The Wilds is binge worthy, and I recommend, which I don't do a lot. I have not done a lot since being on this show. I feel like this is the first time I've ever said this. I, Casey Kelsey, 100% recommend anyone to watch The Wilds. On
I
that
do
note,
not, but yes.
Well, I'm gonna go second and say because I just love that Casey loved this show, especially because it's a slower show, but she stuck through it. I think it's 100%, 1,000%, a billion% binge worthy. It's an amazing show. There's never a dull moment. The storyline is amazing. It's unique. I would say if you're gonna binge it, make sure you got the time to watch back to back to back to back because you're not gonna be able to stop, in my opinion. I think you'll fall in love with all of the characters and you will relate to them in some shape or form. So watch it, y'all. Watch it.
I don't think it's binge worthy for the reasons that I laid out in this podcast. And it's just too slow for me. I'll leave it there. But do you and do what you do when you watch your TV. I would not recommend this. Will I watch season 2? Probably, because I have some questions. But will I binge this again? Absolutely not.
all right. Thanks for watching Binge Worthy. Peace.